This is a quick overview of a few different branch and merge strategies using Git. The first one I'll go over is a full cycle strategy including maintaining multiple releases. This includes development, test, and production environments, and the possibility of maintaining more than one concurrent release. In all of these strategies, master reflects what is currently in production and is the branch that is considered to be the most recent, most up-to-date copy of production source code. And in this strategy, from master you would create a branch called test, and this would contain the environment, the source code that is ready for testing, that all development should be done on, completed, and it would reflect if there is a test environment. Branched off of test is develop, and this would be the active development environment for the upcoming release. All code changes going into here would be finished up, and when there's a stable development branch or stable development commit, it would be promoted to test, and then when test was tested, it would be promoted to master, which would then be released. During development, you may want one or more feature branches for the developers doing concurrent development, and these would be branched off of develop. For example, you have feature 1 and feature 2, and these could be separate, just individual developers working on their own work. And so it could be Bob's branch or Frank's branch. And then to support more than one release in production, when something is released to production, you create a release branch. For example, when 1.0 is released, you would create a release 1.0 branch, and that would be used to track the 1.0 source code. Then any bug fixes to 1.0 would go there initially, and then say later on, master contained what was ready for version 2.0. You would then branch off of master at that point to create a 2.0 release. This is the general branching structure, and just showing the hierarchy of who was branched from whom, including the main line of active development, develop, test, and master, feature branches, and the release branches. Now we'll go over briefly a strategy on merging between these branches. And I will have arrows color-coded. The first one is a merge, and that's just a straightforward Git merge where you're merging one or more commits from one branch to another, which introduces a new commit in the repository, and that commit would be at the head of the branch you're merging to. The other merge that we're talking about is the fast forward merge, and this is where in the commit tree there's a direct path from the branch being merged from to the branch being merged to, so you basically just fast forward the one branch to that commit, and there's no new commits, and it's very clean in the history. And the final we're going to talk about is the rebase, where you say, hey, I want to rebase my branch off of this other branch, and so it basically finds the point in the history where the two branches diverged, and then it reapplies all of your commits on top of the commit that you want to rebase off of. This also gives you a clean history, cleaner than just a plain old merge. So you'll see in this strategies we're going to use mostly fast forward and rebase throughout. So first example, say you commit to feature 1. At that point in time, you're going to be one commit ahead of the develop branch, and so then you would, to get your changes up to develop, assuming nothing new has been committed to develop, you would simply do a fast forward of the develop branch to the feature 1 branch. So then that brings develop up to the same place as feature 1. And then at this point in time, feature 2 will be behind, and the owner of feature 2 should rebase feature 2 on the develop branch. So then feature 1 was fast forwarded, or the develop branch was fast forwarded to the new commit in feature 1, and then feature 2 rebases any of their changes on the latest on the head of develop. You also notice if feature 2 has not committed anything new since it last was either branched from or was rebased on develop, the rebase effectively does just a fast forward since there's nothing really to rebase. It's a straight line in the history. So say then feature 2, there's a commit on feature 2. It is develop would then be when it's ready to go up to develop. You would fast forward develop to feature 2, and then that would be up to date, and those effectively develop in feature 2 are at the same commit and have the same commit history at this point in time. And feature 1 would then rebase from develop. And at this point in time, feature 1, develop, and feature 2 are pointing to the same commit in history. And then say we're ready for develop to be promoted to test, we would simply fast forward the test branch to where develop is at, and there should be no commits directly to the test branch since it's purely there for the purpose of getting a steady test image. You basically then just fast forward to the develop branch every time you have a point in time you're ready to test. And then once fully tested and you're ready to release, you do the same thing with master. Master would be fast forwarded to the last commit on test, and it would contain then contain the source code that's fully tested and ready for production. I'll say once you're in production and you've released 1.0 previously and you released 2.0 previously, and now you're on 3.0, or say just 2.0s in production, master points to that, but you find a bug in the source code, and you look back and the bug was in 1.0, and you realize you need to fix it in 1.0, 2.0, and you need to have it ready for the next release. So you commit it to the oldest point, the oldest release branch that you want the bug to be contained in. And then what you would do, and this is the only place that we do actual merges, is you would merge that commit, that bug fix commit, to the 2.0 release branch, and then you would, from there, you would merge that bug commit to the develop branch. So now the release 1.0 has that bug fix, release 2.0 has that bug fix, and the develop branch also has it. And then anyone developing active features, of course, would rebase from the develop branch, and that would give them the bug fix as well. If, say, for instance, you had a bug and it either didn't exist in 1.0 or it just wasn't worth the cost of fixing it in 1.0, you would then just commit it to release 2.0 and merge that bug fix to the develop branch and then rebase it into the feature branches. This pretty much gives you a full cycle strategy, branching strategy, and merging strategy that supports fully developed, test, and production environment and previous releases and concurrent feature development. One other option for where we have the fast forwarding of the develop branch from the feature branches to get the feature branch changes into develop. You may have, say, when you're ready to merge your feature into the develop branch, you may have, for example, 20 commits for that single feature, but really you just want one commit in develop in order to say, hey, I'm committing feature 1 to the develop branch. All the actual details of the history of the commits may not be very important. In that case, instead of fast forwarding the develop branch to the head of feature 1, you could do a basically just a normal merge and squash all those commits into a single commit into the develop branch. If you do this, my recommendation would be at that point in time to delete your feature branch and rebranch off of the develop branch instead of continuing to do development on the the current feature branch. If your feature is done, that's not a big deal. But if, say, you have a couple phases of your feature and you're not going to fast forward, but you just want to squash all your commits into a single merge commit into develop, just for the sake of history maintenance, especially since you're then going to be rebasing off of develop in the future when develop gets more updates. It's going to start to get messy if you try to rebase your feature branch that now is not really in sync with the develop branch, because you've got all these extra commits that are now represented by one merge commit. So if you do not fast forward here, but instead choose to merge all of your commits from your feature branch into here, you could still save this feature branch if you wanted to keep the history for reference, but I would not do any additional development on that branch. I would instead, say, rebranch from develop and call it feature 1B or something to that effect. But of course, if you are just fast forwarding, there's no need to rebranch, since the history of your feature branch and develop will be identical. And that's kind of the purpose of doing the rebasing and the fast forwards here, is to keep the history cleaner and more understandable and just more manageable. You'll hear complaints about rebase in the community, and in general I would say if you don't understand what a rebase does and when it's good and when it isn't good, then I would agree that it should not be used. But in this particular case, where you've got feature branches off of a develop branch, and these indicate some concurrent development, and everybody here is kind of working together with this process and with this strategy, then the rebase is really effective. And if you follow this, I mean, you can even be rebasing. Say feature one's committing a bunch of things, or say you have 10 different features going on, and they're all committing things to develop. And if you're feature two here, you can just work along in your own world if you choose, or you could on a regular basis, like daily or whatever, be rebasing off of develop, so that you're continuing to get the latest development changes into your feature branch, in order so that when the time does come to merge at the end, you'll have less testing to do and probably less conflict management. You're less likely to have a significant deviation that you're going to have to work through to get into the develop branch. And as my PowerPoint was back one, we'd talked about, I didn't finish this, when you went from release to release 1 and you merged it down to release 2, your bug fix, and back into develop, and then they got rebased out into the features. And then of course, when the time is right, those get promoted through fast forwarding to test and master. So that's the kind of a full cycle, multi-release strategy. Definitely a lot going on there. A decent amount of overhead in merging and branching, but for a larger team that has a fairly robust development process and is supporting multiple releases, it makes a lot of sense, and actually saves a lot of headache in the future if you can get everyone on board and following the process. Kind of on the other extreme is a very simple small team strategy, and this is what we're using right now. And the idea is you've got a master branch and feature branches, which are most likely on a small team are probably individual developers, the feature branches, and a very simple strategy for this is when it's light on process and there's not a development or test environment. When your features are ready for production, master still reflects the production state. When they're ready, you would fast forward. You've got all your changes committed in your feature branch and pushed up to the centralized repository, and then you would fast forward master to your feature branch, and then when your teammate or teammates want to get the changes that you've committed and merged into master, they would then just rebase onto master. And for all of these strategies, similar to if you're familiar with subversion or any other source control that it's similar, and subversion, you would do an update before you do a commit to make sure that you have the most recent changes from the centralized repository. And this is kind of the same idea, is before you would fast forward master to your feature branch, you would make sure that you're actually ahead of master. So if there's any new commits on master, you would rebase first and then fast forward to master to where you are. This keeps your development history very linear, and the only time there's actually any branching occurring is for commits that you each have in your feature branches that aren't up in master yet. But the idea is once things go up to master, there's no spaghetti history. If you're rebasing off a master before you have master fast forward to your feature branch, it's a linear history. Just keeps things a lot more organized. You'll notice I've grayed out just the straightforward merge. In this strategy, you simply have rebase and fast forward. Obviously, this doesn't take into account other scenarios in practice, and currently right now I actually have two different feature branches that I'm working off of, and had done a bug fix onto master, directly onto master. The bug fix went directly onto master, went up to production, and then rebased my feature branches off of master. And so there's that, and it works for concurrent development by two or more developers, where you're also maintaining centrally what is production ready code. The third strategy is kind of somewhere in between. Then it's a full cycle strategy with only one live release, meaning you don't support more than one production release. You've only got one live production release, but you do have more environments. And this one shows a develop, test, and master, which would reflect your development environment, your test ready environment, and your master, your production environment, with the feature branches. Then it's the same process as was on the first strategy. It just doesn't have the release branches. And if you did bug fixes, you'd just put your bug fix straight into develop, and merge it into test and master. That's one strategy. There's other strategies you could use if you could potentially have another just for your live release. You could have a single release branch and do your bug fixes and merge down to develop like we showed in the original strategy. But this strategy is the same as the other ones. Once again, note, at least without any type of release branch, you're not doing any actual merges. It's all rebases and fast forwards. You could simplify this. If, say, you just wanted a develop branch, you could eliminate the test branch if you didn't have a test environment and just had a develop in a production environment. So you could skip test, but you would still then at least have a centralized place where you can do integration testing before something is pushed up to master and to be released to production. It would give you kind of a staging area to bring all your development changes into one place. So that's the three-step strategies. And once again, one of the primary goals of this strategy, these strategies apart from aiding concurrent development and different environments like develop, test, master, and one or more releases, is to keep as linear as possible of a commit history to just simplify things in general.